Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Empowering Athletes panel at Gabby's session on Off the Court and Across Africa, the Economy of Sports. Today, we have a distinguished panel of athletes and leaders in various sports who are leveraging their careers to drive entrepreneurship and positively impact their communities. Our discussion will revolve around how athletes can be connectors and catalysts for growth. It's my honor. I'm Neko Gomeke of the WNBA. I currently play for the LA Sparks, and it is my honor to share the stage. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's my honor to share the stage first. Super Bowl champion, second overall pick in 2010 to the NFL, Ndamukong Suh. And then we have right winger and captain of the Buffalo Sabres of the NHL, Kyle Okposo. And of course, we have Louisville Big East DPOY, NCAA champion, and drafted to the Utah Jazz in 2013 of the NBA, Gorgui Dieng. So firstly, I kind of want to open it up for anyone that really wants to answer. As athletes, we are really connectors in so many different ways. And so I guess we can start with you, Sue. How would you say that athletes can bridge the gap between various stakeholders in sports, from players to corporate entities to fans? Like, how would you say?
I think there's a lot of different ways that we can do it. For myself personally, I love just learning from other people and getting connected as I got into the sports world. Being drafted at a very high age gave me an opportunity to be able to walk into a lot of different rooms. And so with that, building relationships with the likes of Andreessen Horowitz or General Atlantic for private equity firms, and being able to be that conduit between not only my peers and athletes, but also other business people in the world. So being able to leverage those relationships, which I think in relationships at the end of the day are the most important thing in the world. And as you want to continue to grow and be more entrepreneurial, you're going to continue to build those relationships, and that's how I've particularly done it myself.
Yeah, and I think also, as you say, like athletes, I think, one thing that I would say later on in our careers that we really understand is the importance of those relationships and how that really does connect us to different opportunities to serve as, game changers and change makers. Kyle, what would you say about what it takes to be an athlete and connecting all these different stakeholders?
Well, when we walk into a room, it's easy for us as athletes to talk about our sport, and I think it's exciting for a lot of different business people to hear what we have to say, and people want to hear about our experiences and what we go through on a day-to-day basis. But it's just the same for us in regards to them. Like, I want to hear about, oh, you're a businessman, you run this business, or you're in charge of how many people, and how many assets under management do you have? So I think when you are an athlete for long enough and you play professionally, you realize how much of a business component there is to sport, and the more interest that you take in that business. So it's definitely fun for me to learn about those things and create those relationships.
And Gorgui, what are your thoughts on how sports can not only connect but also contribute to the economic development in Africa? I know that you're passionate about that.
It's very important. I think everything starts with relations. I think we play basketball and we met a lot of people throughout these years. And I think we have to build the relationship, whether you're in the game or wherever you're at. I think, for example, a lot of games, there's a lot of entrepreneurs like sitting in the front of you. You got to build a relationship with them and get to know them, ask them about after basketball or after any sport you play, like, what can you do to contribute to your country? I think me, personally, the most important for me is the relationship. Get to learn, get to know more about other people.
Absolutely. I definitely have to agree with that, especially, coming from, for me personally, like Nigerian heritage, it's very important. Relationship is very important. And we were just talking backstage about how important family is. And I think that's really kind of like the foundation that really, in my opinion, sets a lot of athletes who have African descent apart, because relationship is what is so important. It's the connector that really gets us the opportunities and serves as the impact that we can serve, in our communities and in our sport. I guess, for me, I also too have understood, through women's sports and women empowerment, the impact that it can have on young women who maybe look like me or come from places that are similar to where I come from or how I was raised. And so understanding how I can impact women in sport in Africa is something that's very big. But I will say that it's a little bit harder, of course, for women in sport. We're trying to, engage in something that's such a male-dominated industry. And having advocacy and allyship is really important. And I think also having great examples as well. I'm going to take this to you, Sue, because I think you're such a prime example of understanding the multidimensional nature of being an athlete, specifically an entrepreneurial mindset. And so I wonder, how does that mindset drive economic growth and community development?
Yeah, I would say driving economic growth and development in our communities is something that we should pride ourselves on, and we have the opportunity and the platform to do those things. For me personally, I grew up in a household where my dad's an engineer, my mom's a teacher, and taking roots from my father being Cameroonian and understanding how he got here from Cameroon to the States to get his degree and then turning that into his self-made business and whatnot. I want to be able to give back and looking at it from his perspective of real estate. And that's always been my passion. And we talk about this country is in a massive deficit of housing shortage. So affordable housing is one of my big initiatives that I focus on with my development company and being able to give back to my community, not only back home in Portland, but also looking at over in Cameroon and Jamaica, where both of my parents come from. So I think being able to have that platform and leverage that and bringing relationships in that I've been able to garner over the years are some of those key pieces to be able to give back to my communities.
I love that. I mean, I think, that also shows the importance of legacy when it comes to African culture. I know growing up, we're all sitting up here and you are an engineer, but we all didn't end up being doctors, lawyers, or engineers, which is kind of...
Although our parents wanted us to
all
be.
All of our parents wanted us to be, but I always see so much, I have so much pride in seeing athletes of some type of African descent or influence thriving, and I think that it's not a coincidence. I think that a lot of what we do has a lot to do with the culture that is instilled in us. And I'd like you, Kyle, to maybe talk a little bit more about, I guess, what you do to promote growth, not just for yourself, or any really experiences that you've had that allows you to kind of connect to what makes that important for you as an athlete and your impact as an athlete.
Well, I'll take you back a little bit to when I was growing up, and I was 4 years old dribbling a soccer ball around chairs in my living room, and then I told my father, who grew up in Nigeria, that I wanted to play ice hockey, and he looked at me like I had three heads. So, so when I got asked to speak here, I jumped at the opportunity. And for me, what I try and do is cultivate relationships, and I think that it's so important for business, for growth, for sports, and when I am able to go out in my community or go to somebody that I'm speaking to and look them in the eye and have them know that I care about them, and it creates that intimate connection. And that intimate connection, I think, is so important to promote change and the growth and the what we want to see happen in Africa. That's what's going to drive this thing forward. That's going to make people feel empowered, and that's going to make people feel unstoppable. And that's what I try to do in my community.
Hey, you ended up being a hockey player. I think that is an amazing thing. But congratulations, too. I mean, I also feel like we end up here because we have some type of support, and there's some type of belief in us. And I'm really very honored to be sitting on the stage with all of you who have not only been able to break through that barrier, but also to make it more than what you imagined it to be. And I guess I'd like to ask you, Gorgie, do you have any inspiring stories? I mean, I think a lot of people know a lot about your story. Do you have any inspiring stories that you've, and how you've used your platform to just make positive change in your community, to bring awareness that you...
Women's, and they were working there, and they make money once a week. Very very small, and I create agriculture. I have a farm there, and I make them work. And 95% of my workers I hire women, 95%, because they work hard, they be on time, and they enjoy it. And they work with me, and they almost triple what they make every day. And to me, I think that was a life-changing for them. And it impact their family, their community, and everything. They tripled the money they're making, they work less, and they were happy. And I always have a connection with them, because we've been talking about a lot, the word connect. And you have to mean it. You have to have a connection with your people. And when I go there, I see happiness. I'm not seeing the money I'm making or the money they are making. I see they are happy and they enjoy the work they are doing. And it's a life-changing for them, the community. Now they have water, they have everything they need there because the platform we set there for them to be successful. And they are not leaving the villages no more to go in the cities. They can stay home, help their people, and have a great life. And I think to me it was a life-changing for me when I see them happy and be healthy. And I think that was the best thing I have accomplished so far when I'm home.
Well, I know we're a little bit short on time, but I think it's really important. I always love it when there are organizations, whether it's through the NBPA, through Gabby, to reserve space for athletes to be able to express themselves, to talk about what they want done, to talk about things that they love that have been done. And with all of that in mind, if each one of you could just talk about something that is important to you when it comes to globalizing sport and business in Africa, or anything that's even really personal to you that you want to see happen, or any just like closing remarks when it comes to our impact as athletes that are, connectors between Africa and sport.
I'd go first, but I would just say it's organizations and opportunities like this to be able to speak about it and bring awareness towards it is the one important thing. And being able to share our stories of the different things, because I have similar stories back in Cameroon, being able to start a school and be able to see great things come from that and see their happiness more or less. And those are families and friends and beyond. And so being able to have these platforms to continue to do that, I think is the utmost important piece to be able to continue to leverage those opportunities and go from there.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, Gabby's it's an incredible platform, and you have so many leaders here and people that can make a difference. And I think that when we get off stage and we talk amongst ourselves and you talk about all these big ideas and everybody is speaking about things that they can do, let's not leave this conference and forget about that. Let's continue to connect, let's continue to follow up on it, and I think that will be so powerful in moving forward and where we want to go.
Like you said, I think this is a great platform for all of us. I think I encourage a lot of athletes to come just share their stories. I think this is very important. People are going to hear it, and they can learn from it, so they can replicate more all around the globe.
I mean, maybe this is just the woman athlete in me, but is there anything, there's stakeholders in here. Is there anything that anyone wants to say before we depart the stage and I close this off? Shoot your shot. Now's the time. Anything? No?
What you got, Sue?
Action is everything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think being able to leverage a platform, but we got to make action at the end of the day. And that's always what I've been about, is being somebody who's followed through on their word and being able to execute from that standpoint. So anybody out there who wants to continue to support all of us, I'm happy to exchange information and go from
There we
there.
go.
So.
We got business cards, QR codes. We're here to connect. Well, anyway, as I close the discussion, I hope this conversation has shed light on the pivotal role that athletes play in building thriving economies and fostering community development across Africa. It's clear that athletes have the power to be more than just sports icons. They're agents of change and economic growth. Thank you to our panelists, of course, for sharing their insights, and thank you to our audience for joining us today at Gabby. Let's continue to work together to create a brighter future for Africa through the power of sport and collaboration. And I'm just going to say, hey, as much as we're doing in Africa, we have to do it equally as much for women. So that's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you for this platform. You know, usually it's my sister Chene who's moderating, so this is kind of like I'm in a new seat today, and I'm really glad that I was offered the space to do it here with Gabby. I just want to say thank you. And if anyone needs to contact me, you can find me. I'm also the president of the WNBPA, so I'm going to be finding everybody here because we need to make everything in Africa and all the athletes in Africa and outside of Africa global. And I love to say that Africa's greatest resource are its people, and we are a product of that. And so it's important for us to connect all of it together. Thank you so much.